Hello class, this is my video summarizing the 7-Eleven Japan case study. So to answer the first question of how did 7-Eleven's investments in the 5 supply chain drivers contribute to their achievement of strategic fit, they adopted an aggressive strategy to become the leading convenience store retailer in Japan, first by utilizing a market dominance strategy of location, by entering only into markets where other stores already existed. And it was said that they would enter into a new market only if around 50 or 60 stores were prepared to be established in that area. This enabled them to increase their supply chain efficiency by clustering all their stores together to increase their rapid delivery of distribution. Their market dominance strategy also increased their brand awareness and created barriers to entry for other competitors, which strengthened their stronghold on the industry of the market. Secondly, they're also the first company to establish a point-of-sale technology program in 1982. So this system gave them connections between all of their stores, their store managers, their distribution centers, and their suppliers to give them access to their consumer data in real time. So this was a really important aspect of their information driver of the supply chain management strategy. And lastly, they were able to optimize their delivery system to each store by allocating the resources of each truck very specifically based on temperature. So they were able to reduce the number of trucks that were arriving to their stores daily to a fraction of their original structure. So the drivers of excess capacity, or the facilities driver, information driver, and rapid delivery were able to enable them to experience massive success in Japan. So to answer the second question, can I provide any examples of interesting cases where businesses have structured their supply chain to improve some of their drivers? One interesting case that we actually learned about in microeconomic theory in the MBA program was the wine brand called Two Buck Chuck. So it's now a famous red wine brand that's sold in Trader Joe's mostly for around $2. It became super successful in its first decade of sales, selling over 600 million bottles. And the wine is super cheap, but the quality is actually pretty decent to most average consumers. So it sold really well. And a lot of people were wondering, how did they do it so cheap? And they basically changed the way wine was structured in a supply chain management standpoint. They started by first sourcing their grapes not from Napa Valley, but the San Joaquin Valley in California, which is a lot cheaper, but also has a lot of available land and produces good quantity and quality of grapes. But then secondly, they invested mostly in their facilities driver of supply chain by building a huge fully automated winery with 700,000 gallon stainless steel tanks and a bottling facility that can produce 250 bottles per minute. So this type of automated production was kind of the first sort of its kind in the wine business in America. Some people would kind of consider it not craft wine, is more of a mass-produced wine, so some people would consider it less quality, but by selling it at $2 with acceptable quality, they were able to utilize the economies of scale and to take advantage of a big hole in the wine market and become really successful in America. And lastly, what suggestions would I have for 7-Eleven if they were to replicate their success in Japan within the US? So this is actually really interesting for me because I lived in Japan last year for 3 months on a business assignment. So actually 7-Eleven I really know a lot about, and I frequented them when I lived in Japan. But it's a really interesting case, and I think that the quality of food was super mind-blowing to me, how fresh and daily restocked the stores were. But I do think to replicate that success in the United States is going to be a little difficult, because I think the cultural differences probably needs to be taken into account between the two countries. So in Japan, there's a really strong sense of social responsibility and kind of do what's best for the common good, kind of sometimes even regardless of maybe the economic impacts to your specific situation. So I think 7-Eleven probably was able to make a lot of really strong connections with their suppliers and distributors, and to where their suppliers were probably able to kind of take on a excess inventory or excess infrastructure position in order to keep the relationship strong, and to where they were able to fill orders daily and to the rapid delivery kind of method that 7-Eleven is looking for. Unfortunately, in America, I don't know that this system is always going to be the case. I know that a lot of companies will probably err more on the side of cost savings for their own company, especially if they're supplying 7-Eleven, so that if swings in demand or swings in product variation are seen, they're probably not going to hold on to a lot of excess inventory or a lot of excess kind of distribution infrastructure in order just to keep the products flowing. So I think the risk of stockouts and things like that are much higher in America, and I think we probably see that. I think that's why kind of a lot of sort of convenience stores or grocery stores kind of to keep sort of some of the same products on the shelves for long periods of time in America. But I do think that would be something that 7-Eleven would have to work on in America, is that relationship with their suppliers and distributors to maintain the kind of quick, rapid delivery system that they're looking for. However, I do think like their highly interconnected information system that gives them real-time data on their stores. They mentioned in the article about managers using an iPad to quickly send messages to their distribution center on what they need stocked and what sales are doing well on what products. I think that would be extremely successful in the U.S. because I do think a lot of companies probably don't invest super highly into digitizing their systems, especially on companies where margins are super thin. So I do think if they were able to pull that off in America, it would probably yield them some really good success. So thank you.